Okay, everyone, we're back from our commercial break and back with Lloyd Jones, the author of Mr. Pip. So, Mr. Jones, the next set of quotes has two. The first is when a woman from Matilda's mother's prayer group says, "Silence is an indicator of good manners, but silence is good for a lot of things. Sleeping, being at one with God, thinking about the good book." The second is when Matilda's mother tells the children a frightening story from her past. She then says, "We decided to tell the minister what had happened. He said what we had done was to outwit the devil. He said the devil had been sent to test us kids. That's what the devil is for, to test our convictions." What can you tell us about these quotes? In this case, the novel is again showing how old-fashioned the people of Bougainville are when they are dealing with their religion. I purposely showcased the restrictions that coincided with religion years ago, and I left whether the world was better then or now open for the reader's interpretation. In the first quotation, I showed a very simple yet powerful attribute of religion: silence. Here, the speaker suggests that when in silence, it is a perfect time to reflect on the Lord's Word and God in general. Silence is a time of healing and self-renewal. This general idea, of course, would seem extremely old-fashioned to anyone who read this novel at this point in our world. The thought of silence at all seems quite laughable and far-fetched. When in today's society is there ever silence? However, this quote simply showcases a simple religious idea. It's not too ridiculous. People should enjoy silence and revel in it, whether that means thinking about God during silence or just focusing inside. Again, I left it up to the reader. However, this quote also connotates a negative idea that most people link with silence these days, which is to say that nothing materialistic and therefore, quote, important, will get accomplished during these times. The second quotation shows another aspect of religion that many people cannot distinguish: the difference between good and evil. According to the Ten Commandments, stealing, under any circumstances, is wrong, and there is no gray area in this accusation. This quote shows how much society has changed in regards to the effect that religion has on our legal systems. In the past, the law was governed by the Ten Commandments. In present time, stealing is an extremely minor offense, and first and even second-time offenders can get off incredibly easily. This quote shows how lax everyone has gotten in terms of law and rules. Good and evil. I could do a week's worth of shows on that very idea alone and not even scratch the surface. Why do you think the lines are so blurred between these two seemingly distinguishable ideas in our present day? I thoroughly believe it has everything to do with the Bible. People just do not read the Bible like they used to. Stories and parables that would teach grave life lessons and frighten the pants off of me as a little boy seem unimportant now. Is this to blame for all the backwards thinking these days? It's true that our crime rate has gone way up in the last 50 years. Whether we have the means to prevent it or not is irrelevant. The very fact that people who are accomplices to murder can walk out of a jail cell in 10 years is simply baffling to me. When did that stop being wrong? Isn't that just crazy? Okay, the next set also contains two quotes. The first is again from Matilda, as she says, "There was one curious outcome in all this. My mom's silence meant that while Mr. Watts's copy of Great Expectations was saved, her beloved Pitkin Bible went on the bonfire." The second quotation is taken from the mouth of Matilda's mother, as she says, "Sir, I saw your men chop the white man. He was a good man. I am here as God's witness." What do you think of these? In this novel, religion is portrayed as something that is a huge and influential life path. To the people of Bougainville, religion is something that cannot be swayed from, and morals and beliefs cannot be changed either, as it should be. The first quotation was after the soldiers came to Matilda's village for a second time. This time, they talked to all of the villagers. They were under the influence that there was a rebel soldier by the name of Pip hiding somewhere among the houses. However, the reader knows there is no Pip hiding. The reason that the captain thinks this is because Matilda, being so obsessed with Great Expectations, laid out rocks in the shape of the word Pip on the beach. The only thing they need to do to make the soldiers leave is show them the novel, Great Expectations. Then they would be free. However, the novel cannot be found. This is because Matilda's mother, out of spite for Mr. Dickens, Mr. Watts, and hatred against a novel that she believes is brainwashing her daughter, has taken it. The reason that this quote is so important is because Matilda's mother has stolen the book. However, instead of admitting to this, getting the book, showing it to the soldiers, and therefore saving the possessions of the whole village, she lets the book remain hidden out of shame. She cannot bear the thought of anyone knowing that she, such a religious woman, stole a book. In the meantime, the soldiers burn all of their possessions, including her Bible, which is extremely ironic. The second quote marks a turning point in the novel. When the soldiers return a third time, they are very angry. They do not know who Pip is, and they want to find him and get rid of him. However, they find out that Mr. Watts has been telling the rebel soldiers that he is in fact Pip. So, tired of being lied to, the Redskins decapitate and corner Mr. Watts in front of everyone, and then feed him to the pigs. To prove a point, they ask the villagers if anyone has witnessed the crime. They plan on making an example of them. They wish everyone to remain silent and lie about what has occurred. However, Matilda's mother is not one to stand idling by while there is a great sin being committed. Matilda's mother steps forward and openly admits that as a witness of God, she has watched them brutally murder Mr. Watts. She admits that he was a good man. She throws her life away to prove a point to everyone, but more so, to give herself up to God as a payment for her sin of lying. Wow, Matilda's mother really stands by her beliefs until the very end. This is an interesting look at a religious profile, what we would call the extremist. At least that's what we would consider it in today's society. As you were saying, when we were growing up, this kind of behavior would often have been common within the church. It's so strange to think that something that would have been acceptable then, now, is considered out there or excessive. Okay, everyone, it's time for another commercial break, and then we'll be back with more questions about the theme of religion with Lloyd Jones, the author of Mr. Pip. Stay tuned.